Hello dear viewers. Today, I'd like to share a touching story about CEO James and his dedicated assistant Diep, a journey through storms to reclaim both the company's future and their own hearts. When Hongjia Timber Company faced the threat of bankruptcy, James received a hopeful opportunity to sign a major contract. However, on the way, a serious accident left him injured and with memory loss, bringing even more challenges to the company. During this difficult time, Diep not only took on the responsibility of running the company but also patiently stood by James, helping him recover his memory and spirit. Their love gradually blossomed through every challenge, showing the power of patience and trust. Finally, James made a strong comeback, saving the company and building a happy, lasting future with Diep. If you enjoy meaningful stories like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss the latest videos. Thank you all for being with me on this journey. Hongjia Timber Company, led by CEO James, was going through one of the toughest periods in its history. The market was volatile, competitors growing stronger, and internal conflicts caused delays in projects and cancellations or indefinite postponements of contracts. The company's finances started to decline sharply, putting immense pressure on James, a man usually confident and resolute. Long meetings, sleepless nights, and tense discussions with shareholders seemed to age him rapidly. Just when the company seemed on the brink of collapse, a glimmer of hope appeared. A prestigious international timber corporation sent a proposal for a large-scale partnership, a long-term timber supply contract that could revive Hongjia. It was an opportunity not to be missed, but it meant James had to personally meet and negotiate to close the deal. That morning, James called Diep, his assistant and close collaborator for many years, to his office. Diep understood him deeply, not only at work but also the hidden thoughts James rarely revealed. She was the only person who could help him prepare thoroughly for this crucial trip. "Diep, this trip is very important. If it doesn't succeed, everything could fall apart," James said, his eyes tired but determined. "I want you to come with me, support me at every step. Can you?" Diep nodded, a gentle smile on her lips. "Don't worry, I'll do my best." The luxury car rolled out of the city, carrying two people weighed down by heavy hearts. The scenery gradually shifted to vast pine forests. The fresh and tranquil air seemed to soothe their inner tension. Yet, in that quiet space, James suddenly spoke softly but meaningfully. "Do you know, during these hard times, there were moments I thought about giving up. But it was because of you that I couldn't stop. If this contract succeeds, I won't just save the company, maybe I'll have the courage to keep you by my side." Diep remained silent, staring out the window, her heart beating faster. She knew James wasn't good at showing emotions, and these words were very important to him. But she also understood the tough road ahead. Suddenly, a loud, piercing noise broke the silence. A speeding truck lost control and swerved directly into their lane. James quickly steered but couldn't avoid it. The impact was so strong that his car skidded off the road, crashing repeatedly against the roadside trees. Inside the car, chaos erupted. Diep screamed, trying to hold the steering wheel, but the violent shake threw her forward. James tensed, trying to control the car, but the crash was too severe. His vision blurred and everything went dark. When James regained consciousness, he found himself in a hospital bed, in pain and confused. Diep, though lightly injured, was alert and taking care of him. But what worried her most wasn't the wounds, it was James's vacant gaze and strange silence. Do you remember anything?" she asked, voice trembling. James looked at her but showed no sign of recognition, no hint of memories. He was silent, like a stranger. James awoke in the hospital, his body aching from the horrific accident. But what shocked those close to him the most was his vacant, lifeless eyes. Not only had he lost recent memories, but James couldn't recognize himself, his company, his friends, or the people closest to him. Doctors' questions, Diep's inquiries, even familiar names called out to him were met with silence and strange, confused gazes. Standing beside his hospital bed, Diep's heart ached deeply. She knew James was the strongest man she had ever met, yet now he was a complete stranger, fragile and helpless. At that moment, Diep vowed to herself that she would never let him face this crisis alone. Outside the hospital, challenges only grew bigger. Hongjia Company, like a ship rocked by a storm, plunged into chaos when its talented CEO suddenly became unable to lead. Shareholders began to doubt, competitors seized the opportunity to strike, and employees grew anxious. The situation forced Diep to rise, becoming the helmsman of the precious ship James had painstakingly built. At first, Diep faced many difficulties. She was originally only an assistant, never having held the highest leadership position. Meetings with skeptical shareholders were tense, many doubted her ability to run a company as large as Hongjia. But Diep was not one to be defeated easily. She worked tirelessly, learning every process, contacting partners and employees to stabilize the situation. Gradually, her decisions began to regain trust. Every evening, when the company had quieted down, Diep would return to the grand villa where James was recuperating. She would sit beside his bed, gently recounting stories of life, work, and familiar memories. "Do you remember? You used to be the most decisive person in the company, always leading every negotiation. I know you can't remember now, but I will help you get it all back." James listened silently, his eyes occasionally flickering with the faint glow of a returning memory. She realized that within his silence, part of him was still fighting against the darkness clouding his mind. Diep took care of every little detail for James: meals, physical therapy sessions, conversations to calm his spirit. She knew it was this perseverance and unspoken love that would pull him back. At the company, people began to admire Diep's steadiness. Major contracts were signed, old projects restarted. Under her leadership, Hongjia slowly revived. Though James was no longer the company's head, his presence lingered in every decision, every word, every action Diep took. One day, as they sat together in the office, James weakly asked, "Diep, have you helped me this much?" She smiled, her eyes full of affection. "I will always be by your side, whether you remember or forget." It was an unspoken promise, solid as a mountain in the storm, for both to hold hands and overcome whatever challenges lay ahead. The days grew longer, and slowly, James's memories began to stir from their deep slumber. It wasn't sudden or dramatic, no lightning bolt moment, but rather faint flickers that came in quiet fragments. A smile that once belonged to him, a phrase Diep used to say, the feel of her hand in his. These small pieces started weaving together like threads, gradually knitting back the tapestry of his lost identity. One rainy evening, as thunder rumbled softly outside the grand villa, James found himself standing quietly outside Diep's study. The room was filled with the warm scent of old books and the faint aroma of jasmine tea she always brewed while working late. Diep was immersed in reviewing the final draft of the timber contract, the very deal that could save Hongjia from the brink of collapse. The room was dimly lit, her face illuminated by the glow of the computer screen and her unwavering dedication. James hesitated before opening the door, the familiar creak breaking the silence. Diep looked up, surprised but welcoming. Her eyes, tired yet full of hope, met his. For the first time in months, a rush of images flooded James's mind, their late-night talks beside the lake, her gentle laughter under the sunlight, the countless hours they spent fighting together for the company's survival. His heart pounded with a mix of confusion and clarity. He knew, without a doubt, that Diep was no ordinary person in his life. Slowly, he stepped forward and wrapped his arms around her from behind. Diep's breath caught in her throat, startled by the sudden embrace. He whispered softly into her ear, "Diep, I remember now. I remember everything. And I realize. I never told you, but I love you." Tears welled up in her eyes, a mixture of relief and overwhelming joy. For so long, she had silently carried the weight of their shattered world, the company's future, James's recovery, and her own guarded heart. Now, those burdens felt lighter, replaced by a bond renewed stronger than ever. James pulled back gently to look into her eyes, his own shining with newfound clarity. "I was lost in the darkness, but you were my light. Without you, I might never have come back." Diep smiled, brushing a stray lock of hair behind his ear. "You were never alone. We fought together, every step. And now, we can move forward, stronger, together." With James's return, the company blossomed anew. He resumed his role as CEO, but this time, he was a man transformed. The cold, detached leader had softened into someone who understood the true meaning of strength, the courage to lean on others, to admit vulnerability, and to love deeply. Together, James and Diep not only salvaged Hongjia Timber Company from ruin but also discovered a love forged in the crucible of hardship. Their partnership was no longer just professional, it was personal, unbreakable. In the following months, Their days were filled with renewed purpose and quiet happiness. James found joy in the simple moments, sharing breakfast with Diep, laughing over silly jokes, and planning future projects side by side. The scars of the past remained, but now they were reminders of resilience and hope. At the company's annual gala, standing side by side before the applause of their colleagues and shareholders, James took Diep's hand and said, "We faced the darkest storms, but together, we found the light. This company, this family, and you, are my everything." The room erupted in cheers, but for James and Diep, nothing was louder than the beating of their hearts in sync, a melody of hope, resilience, and love that would carry them forward forever. As the evening faded into night, the two stepped out onto the balcony overlooking the city lights. James pulled Diep close, whispering, "No matter what comes next, we face it together." She smiled softly, her head resting against his chest. "Always." And in that quiet moment, beneath the vast sky, their future stretched out before them, bright, uncertain, but filled with endless possibilities.